Have you ever wondered why someone in a committed relationship still seeks something outside of it? Is it betrayal, or just an unmet emotional craving they've kept buried for too long? In this video, we'll uncover the silent forces that shape relationships, the ones no one talks about but everyone feels. There exists a quiet undercurrent in every relationship, one that most people overlook, yet it forms the very foundation of human connection. The mind, like the body, craves stimulation, novelty, and emotional depth. But when someone starts seeking that outside of their relationship, society is often quick to judge, rarely stopping to understand why. The Stoic doesn't rush to condemn. He observes, he asks, what compels a committed partner to search for something new? The answer isn't simple, and it's never just one thing. Human nature is complex, full of contradiction and longing. Why should you watch this video? Because we're going to uncover hidden truths, psychological forces that drive people to seek excitement beyond their current bond. More importantly, you'll discover how a Stoic responds, not with judgment, but with clarity and strength. As Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." But when longing and imagination begin to blend into reality, we must stop and ask, what is someone truly seeking? A Stoic doesn't react blindly. He understands. He remains unshaken by impulse because he sees reason behind every behavior, flawed or not. Let's begin with the first insight: the desire for emotional depth. Emotional depth is one of the most powerful forces in human connection. It goes beyond fleeting emotions or surface-level attraction. Many people who stray aren't looking for someone new. They're chasing a feeling, a sense of being seen, heard, and understood. In a world dominated by routine, emotional depth becomes the missing piece people silently yearn for. When conversations revolve only around tasks, chores, and obligations, rather than dreams, fears, and curiosity, the spark fades. And when the spark fades, people start searching elsewhere. Up next, we'll explore why emotional neglect often leads to disconnection and what you can do to recognize and restore the bond. When emotional distance starts to creep into a relationship, a person often isn't searching for someone new, but rather for the revival of the emotional depth they once felt. Humans are wired to seek emotional resonance, to feel deeply understood, seen, and valued. This desire isn't merely about being heard, it's about knowing that your emotions, your thoughts, and your inner world matter to the person you love. When someone feels truly acknowledged and appreciated, they naturally grow more attached to their partner. However, when met with indifference or superficial interactions, an emotional void begins to form. To fill that void, they may start looking elsewhere, not out of betrayal, but from a longing for emotional meaning. Why does this matter? Because people don't just want love, they want to feel that their emotions and struggles are significant and recognized. From a Stoic perspective, one must not rely entirely on others for emotional fulfillment. True strength lies in cultivating inner resilience and mastering one's own emotions. Still, this does not mean emotional needs should be dismissed. The key lies in balance, building inner strength while also nurturing meaningful emotional bonds. A person who feels emotionally nourished within their relationship is far less likely to seek that same depth elsewhere. Ultimately, emotional depth isn't found in grand gestures or dramatic proclamations. It lives in quiet, authentic moments, in the way someone listens without judgment, holds your hand without letting go, or understands without you having to explain. When these moments are present and cherished, love grows unshakable. But what happens when routine quietly drains the passion? In the next part, we'll explore one of the most common and often overlooked reasons people drift apart: the erosion of passion through routine. When emotional connection starts to fade, another quiet force begins to erode love. The slow erosion of passion through routine. The early phase of a relationship, often called the honeymoon period, is fueled by excitement and novelty. Every touch sparks electricity, every glance feels new, and every moment carries the thrill of discovery. But as time goes on, familiarity replaces surprise. Responsibilities, work, and daily chores begin to take center stage. What was once an adventure becomes an expectation. What once sparked desire now fades into predictable routine interactions. Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It's a reminder that while outside forces can dull the flame, passion can still be rekindled, but only if one chooses to act. Many believe that passion should be effortless, but in truth, desire must be nurtured. Without regular effort to create novelty, emotional closeness, and shared experiences, relationships can easily drift into a monotony of stability without spark. Comfort and safety are crucial, yes, but when gained at the cost of excitement and spontaneity, they can lead to emotional detachment. When a woman looks beyond her current relationship, it doesn't always mean she's seeking another partner. Often she's longing for that lost energy, to feel desired, not just loved, to be pursued, not merely appreciated. The same goes for men trapped in routine, yearning to reignite the fire that once defined their bond. The Stoic man understands this. He doesn't let routine define his love life. Instead, he actively creates new experiences, challenges stagnation, and deepens emotional and physical intimacy. He knows that passion thrives in the space between comfort and curiosity, between security and adventure. A relationship that balances both is not only more resilient but also more alive. Ultimately, passion isn't lost. It's simply waiting to be rediscovered by those who dare to seek it again. But what drives people more than anything else? The answer lies in a deep, quiet fear. The fear of a life unlived. Let's explore that in the next chapter. Continuing, from where we left off, after examining how passion can fade due to routine, let's now turn to a deeper, quieter force, the fear of a life unlived. There comes a point in many people's lives when they pause and wonder, am I truly living or merely existing? When daily routines grow stale, missed opportunities pile up, and unexplored desires linger in the background, it creates an ache, an inner void not necessarily tied to dissatisfaction, but to a longing for more. For many, especially as they grow older, this quiet fear pushes them to seek experiences outside their current reality. But often, they're not searching for a new relationship. They're searching for a lost version of themselves. In long-term partnerships, it's easy to slip into roles, being the husband, the father, the provider. These roles are meaningful, yes, but over time, they can overshadow personal identity, dreams, ambitions, even the youthful self once full of wonder. And so, one day the question arises, is this all there is? That single thought can stir a restlessness, a yearning to escape the mundane and feel alive again, to rediscover that limitless sense of adventure. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." This perfectly reflects how people project fears into the future, imagining they've missed out, fearing their best years are behind them, worrying they'll never live the life they were meant to. Such thoughts can lead to impulsive actions, driven by the belief that escaping routine might offer fulfillment. When someone starts to fantasize about the life they could have lived, it often doesn't take long before they look for ways to make those fantasies real. but they're not rejecting the present. They're attempting to reclaim lost passion and possibility. Still, the Stoic man understands this truth. Fulfillment doesn't come from chasing what's outside, it comes from mastering the mind. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Rather than fear a life unlived, he shifts his perspective, appreciating what he has, creating new meaning each day, and taking deliberate actions that align with his core values. He doesn't need to flee his reality to feel alive. He brings life into his reality. But if fear and passion aren't the only forces at play, what else causes someone to look beyond their relationship? Following the fear of an unlived life, we now explore something just as powerful: the quiet force of unmet needs. Every person, no matter how strong, carries a set of emotional, intellectual, and physical needs. These aren't luxuries. They're vital elements that shape our well-being and fulfillment. When those needs are neglected or left unmet, a subtle but growing sense of dissatisfaction begins to take root. It's rarely about seeking someone new. More often, it's about longing to feel seen, heard, and valued again. Imagine being in a relationship where your voice goes unheard, your emotions go unnoticed. It's not betrayal that arises first, it's hunger. A hunger for attention, for affirmation, for emotional connection. This is why people often find themselves drawn to meaningful conversations, to those who reignite their sense of self-worth, to someone who looks at them and silently says, "You matter." Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." But when someone has been emotionally deprived for too long, they often begin searching outward for what feels absent within. And the mind isn't the only thing that craves stimulation. Intellectual needs too play a major role. When relationships become stagnant, lacking curiosity, growth, or stimulating conversations, it can feel like a vital piece of one's identity is slowly withering. That's why many people gravitate toward those who challenge their thinking, introduce fresh ideas, or simply make them feel mentally alive again. Physical needs, often oversimplified, are just as crucial. Affection, physical touch, and true presence are more than acts of love. They're reassurances of emotional safety. When these disappear, a person may begin to feel isolated even when they're not alone. So when needs go unmet, emotionally, mentally, physically, how does a Stoic respond? A Stoic man understands that seeking external validation without addressing the root causes will never lead to true fulfillment. Loyalty isn't something you can demand, and it's a gift that is freely given. But when someone's needs are constantly overlooked, even the most devoted partner can begin to feel a pull towards something different. So what is the key? It's recognizing that true fulfillment doesn't depend solely on circumstances, but on internal clarity and open communication. The Stoic man doesn't react out of emotional lack. Instead, he slows down, reflects, and seeks to understand both his own emotions and the emotions of others. He asks, "What is this emotion trying to tell me?" and acts not from impulse but from insight. As Epictetus wisely stated, it's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. Needs will always exist, but how we handle them determines whether they lead to growth or to downfall. A Stoic doesn't expect others to complete him. He creates meaning in his own life, fosters honest communication, and builds a foundation of self-awareness. He transforms the void of unmet needs into a challenge for personal mastery, not an excuse for betrayal. And now we shift to explore one of the most powerful yet overlooked forces of attraction: the magnetic pull of strength and presence. Following the exploration of strength and presence, We see that some individuals captivate a room not because of looks, but because of something much deeper. They are fully present. While most people wander through life distracted, scattered and unfocused, the one who is fully engaged in each moment draws others in effortlessly. True presence means listening deeply, speaking with clarity, and walking through life with conscious awareness. That's why some people seem almost hypnotic. They are not caught up in insecurities or distractions, but completely grounded in the now. For many, the allure of strength and presence is not merely romantic. It's inspirational. They are drawn to those who embody the traits they long to cultivate: discipline, emotional control, and unshakable self-worth. A man who exudes quiet strength doesn't need to dominate. His calm presence speaks for itself. He doesn't chase approval because he earns respect through his actions and steadiness. The Stoic man knows his value comes not from outside validation, but from inner mastery. He does not chase, he attracts. He does not need to prove himself, because his very presence creates stability. His strength is not about over others, but about remaining unmoved by chaos. As Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And so attraction is not a trick. To learn, it is the natural outcome of inner mastery. In a noisy, uncertain world, the one who radiates clarity and presence stands out effortlessly. In that quiet strength lies true power. Next, we enter a more delicate yet profound terrain: the rebellion against a lost identity. After exploring the inner rebellion against a lost self, we come to realize that many mistake outward defiance for true liberation. They believe that breaking rules or diving into forbidden experiences will help them reclaim their identity. But the truth often runs deeper. Seneca once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Yet, countless people confuse external rebellion with internal freedom. They think that by challenging norms or indulging in what's off limits, they can revive a fading version of themselves. But more often than not, these acts are attempts to fill a void, one that cannot be satisfied by praise or fleeting thrills. From childhood through adulthood, we're shaped by expectations. Family, society, and culture define what's respectable and acceptable. Many follow these paths without question, but eventually some feel smothered by them. The weight of responsibility, the expectations, the roles. They wake up one day and ask, "Who am I beneath all of this?" Someone who has long lived by duty might start to long for something that reminds them of who they used to be: adventurous, alive, untamed. That's why people sometimes make drastic choices, not out of dissatisfaction with their relationships, but because they feel lost within themselves. To the Stoic, reclaiming identity doesn't come from reckless rebellion, but from introspection and self-awareness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." So ask yourself, are you running toward meaning or just away from discomfort? Rebellion without direction breeds confusion. Instead of escape, seek understanding. What was lost? Why was it lost? And how can it be rebuilt in alignment with your values? The disciplined man does not fear change. He welcomes it with clarity. He does not act on impulse, but with purpose. He knows that identity is not found in others. It's cultivated from within. True freedom isn't about breaking chains. It's about never being chained by illusion to begin with. And once this is understood, we come face to face with something universal: the inevitability of change. After confronting the illusion of rebellion and reclaiming identity, another powerful truth emerges: change is inevitable, yet many still resist it, clinging tightly to the past and trembling before the unknown future. The world is in constant motion. Nothing stays the same forever. But instead of accepting this, people often struggle, trying desperately to hold on to what once was. In doing so, they create a false sense of control, one that only leads to deeper suffering. The Stoic, however, sees change not as an enemy, but as an essential part of life. It's something to be embraced with clarity and resilience. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. A Stoic wastes no energy mourning what is inevitable. They don't fight the natural current of life. They flow with it. This philosophy applies to all things, especially relationships. People grow, interests shift, and priorities evolve. When a partner begins to change, the Stoic doesn't resist. He sees an opportunity to grow as well. Much of the emotional suffering in relationships stems from the illusion of permanence. We unconsciously expect the passion, excitement, and intimacy of the early days to last forever. But passion fades when neglected, and people drift apart if they don't evolve together. This fear of change often drives people to desperation, trying to control, manipulate, or revive the past. But these actions only deepen the pain. The wiser path lies in acceptance. By understanding that everything is temporary, including love itself, we stop fearing its transformation. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." A Stoic does not resign passively, but adapts actively. They prepare their minds to meet change with courage and clarity, because every ending carries the seed of a new beginning. Even in loss, there is wisdom waiting to be discovered, and through that wisdom, we become stronger. To live without fear of change is to live with true freedom. It means knowing that nothing external can truly disturb your inner peace, unless you let it. The Stoic man does not cling. He does not resist. He moves with life's currents, calm, centered, and ready. And now we turn to another profound motivator that often shapes human behavior: the deep longing for acknowledgement and connection. Let's continue. After embracing the inevitability of change, we return to the foundation of it all, the self. In the whirlwind of emotion, desire, and shifting realities, how does the disciplined person respond? Not with jealousy, not with despair. A true Stoic remains centered. He doesn't beg, he doesn't demand, he doesn't tremble at the thought of loss. Instead, he observes, accepts, and moves forward with quiet strength, because the actions of others do not define the Stoic. His worth is not dependent on loyalty, praise, or permanence from the outside. He stands steady, not because nothing shakes him, but because he knows how to return to stillness. That is the essence of the Stoic mindset. So why do some people still seek something beyond their commitments? Because they are human, because desire is intricate, and because longing, when ignored for too long, will eventually rise. But the Stoic knows no fleeting passion, no external validation, no brief temptation will ever surpass the enduring power of self-mastery. As Marcus Aurelius said, "A man's worth is no greater than his ambitions." So we do not chase, we do not cling, we do not fear, we master ourselves. And in doing so, we lose nothing. We gain everything. Yet there remains one powerful force that continues to shape human behavior: the deep, emotional longing for connection, not through logic, but through the heart, continuing from where we left off. The yearning for connection. We now reach the final insight, the simplest yet deepest truth about human emotion. Beneath all desires, actions, betrayals, or fantasies lies one universal need: to be understood. People don't just want to be loved. They want to be seen, heard, and felt. Some don't truly want to leave. They just want someone to hold their hand, look into their eyes and say, "I understand you." But when that is missing, when a relationship turns cold, we drift apart not through arguments, but through silence. Not through betrayal, but through forgetting. The Stoic does not let silence linger. He does not blame. He acts. Not to control the other, but to rebuild the bridge through empathy and presence. And if in the end someone still chooses to leave, the Stoic does not beg. He knows no one belongs to him, and true love cannot be forced, because the one who understands this is not defined by the actions of others. He is anchored by the clarity within. In summary, this video isn't about how to hold on to someone. It's about how to hold on to yourself. When you understand the deeper motives behind emotion, both yours and theirs, fear dissolves. You grow stronger, wiser, and freer. Thank you for staying with us until the end. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an episode from Stoicism Philosophy Daily. See you next time.